Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yesterday you celebrated the appearance day of Sriman Nrsimha. And it is impossible to talk about Lord Nrsimhadev without speaking about Prahlada Maharaj. Because Lord Nrsimhadev did not exactly appear just to dispatch Hiranyakashipu. His main reason for appearing was out of affection for his devotee, Prahlada. So today we'll be discussing some of the instructions of Prahlada Maharaj. Let us give equal attention to Prahlada's instructions, just as we give so much attention to the dramatic, unprecedented appearance of Lord Nrsimhadev. No doubt you had a drama yesterday and you saw the whole event. The event is packed with instruction. So we want to make sure we properly focus on that instruction, which is quite phenomenal. The instructions of Prahlada Maharaj are quite phenomenal because he's 5 years old. And he's speaking to 5-year-old boys. So not only could Prahlada Maharaj understand, by the mercy of Narada Muni, understand the science of Bhakti, but he could also empower others to understand, even though they were only 5 years old. So what do you normally expect from a 5-year-old child? Not much. In terms of deep thought and deep analysis. But Prahlada is no ordinary 5-year-old. And he made his audience extraordinary by his presence. There are so many aspects to Prahlada's instructions. And now that we can appreciate the wonder of his being able to give such instruction and teach others, all just 5 years old, we can also try to understand several times how Prahlada mentioned that you don't need to strive for your happiness. How does that sound to you? That you shouldn't endeavor to be happy. That sounds counterintuitive, yes? Isn't life all about trying to be happy? And of course, in the framing documents establishing the USA, Americans are guaranteed the pursuit of happiness. So are you all pursuing? You see, that is a major difference in justification between India and the USA. In India, you must do your duty. In the USA, you must be happy. You know the verse in Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter, Kamanyeva Dakadaste. This verse, in half of it, is quoted often in India. But you ask someone, so what are you doing in life? What is your goal? And often the person will say, I'm doing my duty. And if if they know something of Bhagavad Gita, they will quote this half of the verse. Karmanyeva jikaraste. Krishna says, you must do your duty. But what about the other half of the verse? That's the forgotten part. Krishna explains, you have a right to do your duty, but you're not entitled to the fruits of your labor. Forget that part, right? So in India, there, generally speaking, are predominant notions of duty, commitment, responsibility. There are certain things you're supposed to do, and you're supposed to do them in a certain way. You're supposed to be very concerned with what your family and relatives think. You're, generally speaking, these are all generalizations. And when you think about what to do and what not to do, you always take into account what others are thinking as they watch you. Whereas, as you've discovered in the USA, no one has any duty except to their senses. You are committed to sense gratification and everything that it can bring. As far as what others think, it's not so important and it should never interfere with your prime duty to your senses. So to many persons, this looks like freedom. When I'm speaking in Australia to a group of maybe hundreds of students from India who are studying in Australia or have become residents there and are working professional jobs, I get them over the course of a weekend, not just one city. Getting admissions and confessions in one class is not possible. But over the course of the weekend, they admit that there's something intriguing about the Western life, in that you can just do what you like with no worry or concern about responsibility and duty. It looks very fascinating. Nevertheless, whether you are from east or west or north or south, you want to be happy. And certainly, if your justification for life is to do your duty, you expect that there should be some happiness from the duty. Otherwise, you start to wonder, after some generations at least. We're always doing the duty, but we're not happy. Everyone wants to be happy. This way, that way. Many of you come from arranged marriages, or you will participate in an arranged marriage, which to someone in the West is totally barbaric. It's like, if I would ask our guest here, your first time here?
Yes.
I can tell you have your pen and paper. If someone wanted to arrange your marriage, meaning...
I know exactly what that means. I'm all for it.
You're all for it? A rare one. Generally, most persons in the USA would react like, I appreciate my parents, but who I marry is my affair. First we'll live together for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and then we see if marriage happens. But in India, out of appreciation for the parents who have invested so much in their children, the children just assume that the parents know something, they have our best interests at heart, and so they go along with the system. But did you know what the statistics are in this quest for happiness? Because whether you are participating in an arranged marriage or not, you want to be happy. It's all about the quest for happiness. So, the statistics are that with a romance marriage in which two people look at each other and become fascinated by one another's physiology and psychology, they marry, it's a delight for 2 years, and then the buzz wears off and things gradually go down. But the statistics show for an arranged marriage, things start off very slowly and don't reach their peak until 9 years, and then it stays at that level. What do you think? In any case, everyone wants to be happy. But what is this thing called happiness? Prahlada Maharaj wants to analyze that. He points out that material happiness is very deceptive. First of all, it's so flickering, as you all know. It comes and goes so quickly. Still, you're willing to work hard for it. You're willing to work hard for your happiness, even though it's so transitory, so flickering. And you're willing to work so hard for the happiness of your children. But why? When the happiness comes and goes so quickly. Why? So why are we so dedicated to that? There's something addictive about the quest for material happiness. I don't know if you've ever considered it in that way. It's an addictive process. Even social researchers, social scientists, have pointed this out. They call it if you're going to be an academic, you have to give a fancy term to everything. They call it the hedonic treadmill. Hedonic is related to the word hedonistic, because a hedonistic treadmill, in which you keep chasing material happiness like running on a treadmill. You never get anywhere, but you keep running. You're pursuing happiness, like the framing document of the USA says. You have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So you're on your treadmill, you're pursuing, but you never get lasting happiness. But because everyone is doing like that, you become addicted to the process. In other words, so much of our quest for happiness is about mimicking others. This is called social comparison. You look around and you think you see others that are happy, and you say to yourself, I will also do that, and I will be happy. Everyone assumes that the others are happy. Everyone assumes that others are doing things that make them happy. You look at your family members, your relatives, you look at your friends, you look at your work associates, your school associates, your neighbors, and you think, they're all getting some happiness, so I'll also act like that. I'll be happy. Social comparison plays such a major role in life. Consciously or unconsciously, you're affected by it. How will you get the strength to face up to the reality of material happiness? Even social scientists who research the illusory nature of material happiness, they say that they themselves fall victim to it, because what else is there to do in life? So when I'm speaking at universities, I explain this. That if you want to solve the problems of the world, you have to be able to analyze this thing called material happiness and elevate people beyond it. Otherwise, no matter how much they talk about fixing the environment, fixing politics, fixing the economy, because everyone has the wrong conception of happiness, the same mistakes are repeated again and again. So Prahlada, at 5 years old, is not afraid to analyze material happiness. He says a very important verse. Puna punasjarvana charvanana. Material happiness is the same as chewing that which has already been chewed. Very graphic presentation. I always ask the question, do we have any doctors here? Or we just have IT Wallace? No doctors, no.
IT Wallace.
IT Wallace, okay. If any of you are doctors, if you know a doctor, you ask them how many times, and you can try it for the feast today, how many times you're supposed to chew each mouthful of food. Who knows? Medical advice. Anyone?
32 times.
32 times. How did you know that?
I studied this a little bit.
Studied a little bit.
I study Ayurveda and other stuff, so I just pay attention.
Ayurveda also says 32 times? Okay. Yes. So there's agreement. Ayurveda, as you say, and conventional medicine, 32 times. Chew each mouthful. How many of you do that? Raise your hand. It's hard work. Try it tonight. But if you did do that, if you chew every mouthful 32 times, would you dare then to your dear child or spouse offer that food to them after you chewed 32 times? Would you accept it? The girl with the Gap shirt? Yeah. Would you accept? 32 times. You're here with your mother? Where is she? Alright. Your mother chews something 32 times and then says, what is your name? Points out, everyone is pursuing some particular flavor. Srila Prabhupada writes about this in the introduction to Nectar Devotion. It's the taste that drives you onward in life. Whether you're a parent, a spouse, at work, at play, you are seeking a particular flavor. Even when you say you're sacrificing for others, like a family man or a family woman will say, I'm doing this for my family. Still, they're wanting a particular flavor of sacrificing for the family. That activity has a flavor. Everything that you do has a flavor. And that, in Sanskrit, that is called rasa. So rasa is not simply a flavor of the spiritual world. No, the material existence is full of perverted rasas, perverted flavors, distorted by the material energy. So whether you're in spiritual life or you're situated in material life, you are pursuing flavors. So Prahlada Maharaj says, analyze those flavors in material life. You're simply chewing what's already been chewed, yet working so hard. So what else does Prahlada Maharaj explain? He says, why do people think it's so difficult to engage in Krishna's service? Why do people think it's so difficult to adopt the Bhakti lifestyle, the goal of self-realization and love of Krishna? Why does that seem so difficult? Krishna is in everyone's heart. He's the nearest and dearest one to you because he sits in your heart along with you. And he is your dear well-wisher. As Paramatma, the super soul, Krishna is such a well-wisher to you that no matter what body you take, he'll go with you. Not simply human body, but any kind of body you take. The super soul will accompany you. Of course, the super soul is never affected by the material atmosphere or the material bodies that you take. But still, he'll go with you. So this way, Prahlad's explaining to his friends that bhakti is natural. Devotional service to Krishna is natural. Because you're dealing with the one who is the dearest well-wisher and friend. And not only that, Prahlada explains in another verse, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Father of everyone. This, normally speaking, I mean, I know in this present age of Kali, darkness, and nescience, there are family problems. But normally and ideally, you have no difficulty acting in a relationship with your parents. Normally, conventionally, ideally speaking. So many of you come from backgrounds in which you were raised so carefully and lovingly by your parents. So Prahlad says, just as it is so natural to establish a relationship with your parents, similarly, it's so natural to establish a relationship with Krishna. Because he's the father of everyone. So in other words, Prahlad is telling his schoolmates that devotional service is easy because you're dealing with your greatest well-wisher, your greatest friend, your greatest companion, and your natural parent. So you have that in mind now from Prahlad. It's easy. But why do we think it's so difficult? We think it's difficult because we've forgotten all these aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We don't know. We're in darkness. Like if Gloria forgot that she has a mother who's providing for her. And Gloria thinks, I have to fend for myself on the street. We can ask, Gloria, are you worried about how the mortgage on your house is going to be paid?
You are?
No, you don't even know what a mortgage is. Does your mother drive a car? Are you worried about the car payments? No. Do you worry about the family budget? You get an allowance.
She worry about that.
How much a week do you get for allowance? No. Well, you have some spending money, right?
I can
She
say it's
doesn't
okay.
spend anything.
You don't buy any candy bars, soda, nothing.
She's a gymnast, so she has a very tough regime she follows.
Okay, very austere yogini. So, normally, even a 12-year-old child doesn't worry about how the bills are being paid at home. I remember when I was, 13 years old. At school, one teacher asked the class, how much do you all get for allowance? Now this was like 1963, so the value of dollars was much different. Back then in 1963, the subway and buses in New York City, anyone know how much they cost now, one ride?
Now?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know now. I know
Well, it's like $1.75, I think, for a subway in New York City.
We paid 15 cents. 15 cents to get for the subway or the bus. And a candy bar was 5 cents. And a 16-ounce Coca-Cola or Pepsi was 15 cents. So my allowance in 1963, when I was in the 8th grade of school was 50 cents a week. So that was enough for me. I rationed it for the whole week. That meant 3 Coca-Colas, totaling 45 cents, with 5 cents left over for a candy bar. So the teacher was asking, how much do you get? And I came out on the low side, 50 cents a week. Others were getting as much as $2 a week. It's $2 a week. Wow, it's a lot of money. So I went home and complained to my mother. I am only getting 50 cents allowance a week, and others in my class are getting $2. So I'll never forget what she told me. She said, you want more money? Go out and get it. I said, oh, is that the way it works? So I took a job of delivering newspapers. That meant getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Training for a future, promise, right? Getting up 4 o'clock in the morning, 7 days a week, and no matter what the weather was, distributing 125 newspapers in the neighborhood right around my house. So I profited $15 a week. So, wow, it's big time. Then my mother said to me, oh, you got so much money now. Now you buy your own clothes, you buy your own school lunches, buy your own transportation to school. So I said, okay, Mother, is that the way it is? Well, then, I'm going to get more money. So by the time I was 14, other than housing expenses, which my mother paid for, of course, I was financially self-sufficient by the time I was 14. I'll get to why I'm explaining these details more, because a very famous statement by Prahlada Maharaj is, money is the honey. That's what drives a materialist onward, more money, because that acquiring more money has a taste like honey in your mind, you imagine. By the time I was 14, I was thinking there's got to be a better way of working and making more money. So I told my mother, this getting up in the morning, 4 o'clock, all right, it's brought me some money, but I need to find better ways how to make money. She said, you want more money? Get scholarships. I said, oh, how do you do that? Well, you have the best grades, and then people will pay you to go to school. I said, wow, that sounds good. I'm already doing good in school, even though I'm working in the morning. So all I have to do is keep doing good in school, and people will pay me to study. I don't have to work jobs. It sounds great. So she said, okay, here's what we'll do. You'll apply for scholarships to these rich boarding schools, these prep schools in New England. They have some in Connecticut, a lot in New Hampshire, some in Massachusetts. We'll apply for full scholarship. So I said, okay. So I took a test. I submitted my academic record. So then, when I was just turning 15, I had a full scholarship to boarding school in New Hampshire. Full scholarship plus living expenses. I said, okay, now I'm in the money. All I have to do is endure the New Hampshire winters, and then on the school break, I fly back home with lots of money. So you're thinking, all this just for money? But my mother, when I was young, she raised me very carefully. She told me, if you want to be successful in life, you have to be three things. You have to be a scholar, you have to be an entrepreneur, and you have to be a Christian. Those three things went together. So, all about money. As Prahlada says, money is the honey that drives everyone onward because they think there's a taste to it. As I often explain, she also gave me some advice when I was 5 years old that I never had a chance to use. Because I became a brahmachari and sannyasi. She told me, always remember, son, romance without finance is a nuisance. I never had a chance to use that advice. So, we can see that this taste for money drives you onward, especially because you think money gives you independence, it gives you freedom, and it gives you choices, options. The more money you have, the more options you have. And especially life in the USA is all about options. That's what makes it look so attractive, right? You can choose when you have money. I will get this and not that. I will take my vacation here and not there. And you feel full of yourself. You feel quite competent. That my life is better because I have more money. But do you know what social scientists have analyzed about this? They've analyzed that beyond a basic middle class standard of income and luxury, convenience, any further increase in money does not lead to an increase in happiness as measured by standard subjective indicators. So in other words, at a certain point, at the basic middle class level, happiness decouples from income. But we don't feel like that. We just, oh no, the more money you have, the happier you'll be. And everyone gets caught up in this mad chase for more money because more money means more happiness. So sometimes people want to get into the fine print of how it is that more money does not make you more happy once your survival and basic existence is firmly established. How can that be? You mean this ain't, if I have a few $1 million, I won't be more happy than when I was when I had a basic middle class income? That's right. But if you want to get into the fine print, the details, many of you are IT persons, so you want to get into the details. Here are the details. At $75,000 a year, certainly your happiness decouples from your income. But the more money you have, the more you have the feeling that I should be happier. Not that you are happier by standard psychological indicators, but you feel that I should be happier. This is how the illusion works. Do you get it? You overall estimate your life as being successful. I'm making $500,000 a year. My life is better. I have that overall feeling that my life is better, even though you're not one drop happier than someone with a basic middle class standard of living. So just see how the illusion works. Still, that won't stop anyone, right? So what we need is a higher standard of happiness. And that is what Prahlada is giving to his school friends, a different way of tasting happiness. So he explains that in relationship to Krishna, happiness is natural. In relation to Krishna, happiness flows organically because Krishna is your dearest well-wisher. He's your father, he's your friend. So it's easy performing bhakti yoga. How many of you have ever thought like that? It's easy. But, Prahlada explains, destroying your life, going to hell, requires great endeavor. So easy to connect to Krishna, but to be in illusion, to be in Maya, requires such hard labor. To get the material taste, you have to work so hard, especially for the taste of money. Remember Prahlad's metaphor, money is sweeter than honey. Most persons will approve of whatever you do as long as you're getting money. One of the symptoms of the age of Kali, the age of darkness, mentioned in the 12th canto of Bhagavatam by Shukadeva Goswami, is that your worth as a person is determined by your money. If you got money, you must be a good person. If you got money, you must be able to bring good for yourself and bring good for others. But the most elevated personalities in Srimad Bhagavatam that you read, so many of them had nothing. Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, Maitreya Rishi, even Pritchett Maharaj had everything. So wealthy, but he gave it up to sit on the bank of the river to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, there are other examples, like Ambarish Maharaj. He had vast wealth, but it was all fully dedicated for the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prahlada Maharaj. What happened when Lord Nrsingadev asked Prahlada, choose from me any benediction you want. It is my pastime to fulfill everyone's desires. In other words, certainly, since I fulfill everyone's desires, I'll fulfill the desires of my devotee. We were talking about this last night in Brooklyn, New York City. And so Prahlada's response to Lord Nrsingadev, Lord Nrsingadev asked Prahlada, you can have any benediction you want. Ask me for something. Was that in the play? It's a very important part. Because usually we think that if there is God, he should be my servant in fulfilling my orders. But Prahlada refused to take any material benediction. He said that's merchant's business. Someone who uses the connection with God for material benefit is just a business person. There's no pure love. I remember as a young kid, watching some of my relatives, no one in my direct family, but some of my cousins. When my aunt would come home from work, my little cousins would race to the door, and what would they say?
What did you bring me?
What did you buy me? Mommy, what did you buy me? So my brothers and sisters thought that was horrible. Of course, we would love to have something, but at the same time, you don't just run to the front door when your mother appears and say, what did you buy me? What did you buy me? So similarly, Prahlada Maharaj is telling his friends, and especially he said that to Lord Nrsingadev, this is merchant's business, asking the Supreme for material benefit. But he did make a request. All right, you're asking me to ask for something. I beg you that in the core of my heart there be no more material desires. That's the benediction I want. So we can think about that. This is how to establish real love. Generally, we think of love as the exchange of material benefits, physiological and psychological benefits. But Prahlada is making everything clear that real love is simply for the sake of the beloved, with no ulterior motivations, no selfish motivations. So he just asked Lord Nrsingadev, make it so that I have no ulterior motives, no material desires. Nevertheless, Lord Nrsingadev said, that's all right, Prahlad, but I order you to be a king and rule for an extraordinarily amount of time. Do that as service to me. And I promise you, you'll never forget me. You'll always be absorbed in hearing and chanting my glories, but I want you to rule with full opulence as a king. So Prahlad did that. So he's demonstrating how one can be vastly wealthy and at the same time be completely pure. So it's not true that every Mahabhagavat personality, every great devotee in Srimad Bhagavatam was penniless, like Shukadeva Goswami, Sutta Goswami, and so forth. No, you have Ambarish Maharaj, you have Prahlad Maharaj. Later, if you ever read Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatana Goswami, advanced text, in its exquisite version, published by BVT, done by Gopi Prahlada Prabhu. There you see Prahlad telling Narada Muni, how can I be a great devotee, as so many others say, when, just see, Lord Nrsingadev gave me a material position, gave me material luxury. That shows you where I'm at. How can I be known as a great devotee? So Prahlad Maharaj pushed Narada Muni, so to speak, in the direction of Hanuman, because Narada Muni was looking for who is the best devotee. The Pandavas, Lord Shiva had sent Narada Muni onward. Lord Shiva had sent Narada Muni to Prahlad. Now Prahlad is sending Narada Muni to Hanuman. And in doing so, Prahlad is saying, how can I be a great devotee? Look, I'm king. I've got all this wealth. Of course, he 100% used everything for the service of Krishna. So when you're reading Prahlad Maharaj's instructions, keep in mind, you're dealing with happiness and you're dealing with wealth. What is real happiness and what is real wealth? Those of you who have read Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the graduate study to Bhagavatam, may remember that wealth is described as Mahadana, the greatest treasure. What is the Mahadana? Chaitanya Charitamrita says three things are the greatest treasure. Krishna, Krishna's service, and love of Krishna. That is the real wealth. So we should always remember that. And not be driven crazy pursuing the taste of material happiness or material wealth. Instead, we should endeavor for spiritual advancement. So finally, Prahlad explains one key concept that Narada Muni also talks about in the first canto of Bhagavatam. That you don't have to endeavor for your material happiness because it will come to you automatically based on your karma. Narada Muni explains in the first canto of Bhagavatam, Kalena Sarvatra Gabira Ramhasa. Time is the courier service that delivers the correct portion of your happiness and your distress. That delivery from the courier of time comes no matter what. So why should you endeavor for happiness when you're going to get what you're supposed to get automatically? Sounds very revolutionary, doesn't it? But think about it in this way, and Prahlad Maharaj repeats the same point in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam. How many of you endeavor for distress?
I'm kidding.
Gloria, do you work hard to be miserable? Do you try to be miserable? Do you call up your little friends and say, I want to be miserable? No. No one strives for distress. We can ask our guests here today. You don't try to be miserable, right? But do you try to be happy? Oh, you come to the right place. Why shouldn't you try to be happy?
If it happens when it happens.
That's right. That's what Narada Muni says. That's what Prahlada Maharaj says. You don't try for your distress. It comes to you automatically, so why try for your happiness? You'll get what you're supposed to get according to your best karma. Now, some people say this is fatalism. This means you just accept your karma, you do nothing. But is that what Prahlada says? Do nothing? No, he says accept your karma of happiness and distress, but endeavor for self-realization. Endeavor for spiritual development. Not that, oh, my happiness is coming automatically, my distress is coming automatically, let me just sleep all day. No, he says, don't endeavor for your material happiness, endeavor for your spiritual development, because that's beyond your karma. It's not anything bound up by your karma, your spiritual advancement. So if you can allow these instructions by Prahlada Maharaj to shape your life, you'll save yourself so much trouble. And you'll be on to the greatest treasure in life. So again, yesterday we celebrated Lord Nrsingadeva's appearance day. And whenever you talk about Lord Nrsingadeva, you must always speak of Prahlada. Prahlada Maharaj, Bhakti Prahlada. Any questions? Yes.
Maharaj, the critical mass of 75K, is it before tax or after tax? I mean, in all seriousness, we have to endeavor, right? We have to do some work. As you cite, our karma is going to take care of it.
Take care of what?
Take care of what's going to come to us, right? It's good or bad. But if you don't strive for it, if you don't take the action, how it's going to unlock? If you don't give the key to the lock, how the lock is
Well,
going to
are you sure that you are giving the key? In other words, you'll get what's supposed to come to you.
Can you repeat the question?
He's asking, well, how does it work that you don't put the key in the lock and the door opens? How is it that your karmic desserts, what you're supposed to get, comes to you, and you don't endeavor? Well, if you don't endeavor, what are you supposed to do? Is that your question? What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to, as you're doing, expand your spiritual life.
But at the same time, you have material responsibilities as well.
Yes?
Um,
So you do those responsibilities with an attitude of detachment. Yes, I'm executing them, but at the same time, it's not where my heart is invested. As Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, everyone must act. Nahi kaschit chanamapi jatuktishya karma krit. Everyone must act, born of the impulses they have from material nature. Krishna says you can't stop acting even if you try. Oh, it's all my karma. I will just sit at home and do nothing. You can't do that. You have to do something because the modes of nature are pushing you. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is saying, act according to your nature. Do your responsibilities, but have an attitude of detachment. Don't become so wrapped up in it that you lose sight of what is the real purpose of human life. So Krishna never says be lazy. What did Krishna tell Arjuna? I'll drive your chariot, you stay in the back and sleep? Never said that. What did he say? Mam anusma yujam cha. Fight and think of me. So your question leads to another lecture, which you don't have time for today. spiritual economics. How to go to work to give instead of going to work to get. Yes.
So who does Nard Muni find as the greatest devotee?
Eventually the search for the greatest devotee winds up in Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna's dearest associates, the gopis. Anything else? Yes.
What if you've fallen into distress and you're having a hard time seeing your way back to happiness? You don't see you don't see it coming anytime soon. Your material requirements are dwindling day by day.
Your material requirements are doing
I'm not material requirements. Your
resources.
Resources.
thank you. Yes.
Well, have you read Bhagavad Gita?
Not the whole thing, no.
Have you read chapter 1?
Yes.
In chapter 1, you see Arjuna saying what you just said. Krishna, I can see no good coming out of any option I choose. Every choice that I have looks bleak. That's why another title for chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita is the Yoga of Despair. Arjuna was totally devastated by what he saw when he had Krishna drive the chariot in between the two armies, so Arjuna could inspect. What he saw totally devastated him. He saw friends, relatives, former teachers, all ready to fight with each other. So he told Krishna, what's better? I'm between a rock and a hard place, as they say. If we defeat them, we're miserable, because that means our friends, relatives, and former teachers have lost. We defeated them. If they defeat us, we're miserable. I don't see how any good can come out of this. So in that situation, he became a suitable candidate for instruction from Krishna. So use your situation to be a suitable candidate for Krishna's instruction. That's the victory.
Thank you.
Use your situation of diminished material expectations and fulfillment. Use it to enhance your spiritual life, and you'll be the wealthiest person.
Hare Krishna.
Anything else? Very good questions. Yeah.
When Prahlad tells his friends that don't endeavor for happiness because it's going to come, if I'm remembering correctly, he goes a little further and says as soon as you endeavor for happiness, you get the opposite.
Exactly.
So can you explain a little that?
Yes. I was just learning that Sanskrit verse today. Sukhaya dukkha mokshaya sankalpa ita karmana sadatnoti aya dukkam. Last one. Prahlad says that as soon as you initiate a plan for material happiness, just in that plan-making stage, the distress begins. Not even in the execution, but as soon as you make plans, I think I'm going to do this, I think I'm going to do that. That is where the distress begins, even before you execute. This is how tricky material nature is. Yes, very good point. So Prahlad's instructions are so important for us because we all want to be happy, but we actually don't know what is happiness. I've been speaking at universities lately, one last point, and I gave them the facts from my alma mater, Yale University. The university has released official statistics that half of their undergraduate students, at least one time during their studies, approaches the university for mental counseling. At least half. Because they tortured themselves in high school so much to get to the supreme destination. And then once they're at the university, they got problems. So much so that 50% of them, the elites who have achieved the ultimate, 50% of them have to go for mental counseling. So one of the psychology professors there decided to teach a course on happiness and well-being. It became the most attended course in Yale's history. 1,200 students signed up. That's 1/4 of the whole student body. No one knows how to be happy. No one knows how to have well-being. So concerned. So whether you're on the elite level or the street level, you got problems. That's the reality. 1 out of 4 students is taking this course. They started the course in a normal classroom, and then ultimately they had to move it to a concert hall to fit 1,200 students. Because everyone is perplexed. What about my well-being? What about my happiness? So this is what's going on today. So we should very much value the instruction of Prahlada Maharaj and feel grateful for those instructions. All right. Yes?
Well, after this course at Yale, did everyone walk out happy?
You want me to get into it? They're even recommending in the course that, contrary to what Prahlada Maharaj says, don't analyze how material happiness is temporary. Just, don't think about it. Don't think that it's going to end. Because that ruins the enjoyment.
Be an illusion.
Yes, yes. They're teaching the students something called savoring material sense. Then they teach you about 7 techniques what to do after that. You start going over it in your mind. That was really good. I mean, really, that was really, really good. It's called savoring. You remember. And then you're supposed to, technique number 2, since you asked me. Technique number 2 is you find some friends to tell them about your experience. And that makes it, enhances it and makes it last longer. Do you know what I did yesterday? It was really great. I watched the whole cricket match when India defeated Pakistan. It was so wonderful. I even had a flag I was waving. So you find a friend and immediately, download on the friend. It was great. And then also, technique number 3, you should use your camera on your phone or otherwise to take a picture to remind yourself. And that way, even though what you're doing is, the happiness you're feeling is so flickering, if you have a picture of it, you can preserve it to some extent. You want to know more techniques?
Yeah.
The next technique is to enhance the flavor. Puna punas charvana charvanana. To help you chew what has already been chewed. You imagine what your life would have been if you hadn't done what you did to enjoy. And that helps you appreciate more what you did. If I hadn't watched that cricket match between India and Pakistan, my life would have been unfulfilling. And then another technique, the last technique is, you think that, just like if you're relishing going to the university, you tell yourself, in 2 years I'll graduate. So that means the experience will end. See, finally at the end, at the last the end of the list of the savoring techniques, you can start thinking about how it's temporary. And so then you start thinking, 2 more years of this, of school life before I enter the working world, I should really enjoy now and appreciate those last 2 years. And that way you magnify the whole enjoying spirit, they hope. So this is what they're teaching. What do we call it? Prahlada says chewing that which has already been chewed. We can also say, you know the expression raking the coals of a dying fire? Anyone have a fireplace in their house? No. No fireplace. Yeah, if you have a fireplace, you never use it though, right?
Yes.
Gas. It's a fake fireplace, right? Well, if you know anything about fireplace, when the fire's dying out and it's just gray ashes there, if you get some implement and poke the ashes, they'll start to glow red again. So it's known, it's expression in English, raking the coals. So that's what they're teaching you, how to rake the coals, even though the fire's going out. Rake those coals. Ah, I see some orange glow. The fire still has some life. Rake it again. Successful, we know so much. So you ask. So that's what they're teaching.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's like you said, Maharaj, you're giving yourself options, but the reality is you're not going anywhere.
But options are so important in the USA.
That's right.
When you want to buy a car, you have so many brands to choose from. That is a sign of success.
That's right.
This is how people are brainwashed.
Yep.
So Prahlada Maharaj's instructions are vital for us. We can study them again and again and become immunized so that we're not so prone to fall victim to the illusory energy. And we can become more attached to Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Yeah.